It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. Welcome, everybody, to the Bead Place's live party.
I didn't mute.
I'm Alex.
I'm Abby. I didn't mute. I gotta.
They don't know what you're talking about. You gotta understand. They have no idea what you're talking about.
Did you guys hear my phone echo him?
No.
I didn't mute. Always something with me.
Yep. Either you're interrupting my beautiful intro, or you're not muting, whatever. Yeah. And even if you do not mute, you just mute
this is why I stick
you mute it and you move on. You don't mention it to the people. They
gotta know.
They don't. They literally don't. Thank you, everybody,
if I'm not
for watching. Before we get started, though, I do want to ask you to, if you're watching on YouTube, to like the video. If you're watching on Facebook, heart it and share it to everyone. That way, we can do these more often. Thanks, everybody, though, for hanging out.
Yeah.
We got some really cool bone beads.
Really cool beads.
It's a really cool cat.
How is everybody's 4th of July? If you are in the U.S. and
if you celebrate, appreciate that.
We had fun. We didn't do much. Got a new microwave. That was cool.
Parker played with sparklers.
Yeah, that was super fun. It was kind of scary. Yeah, she held too high up on the thing after it burned out.
She burned. She had a good time doing the thing, and then she was curious, as kids are, and she touched the part that just burned, and we were like, "Oh no, that was just on fire."
She wasn't hurt. She was good. It was just one of those.
And then we went. Our family tradition on 4th of July. There's a really awesome firework display about a town away from us.
Yeah.
And you can see it from the McDonald's. That's a mile away.
Not even half a mile, maybe.
So it's the perfect spot for us because we don't want to be right under it because it's very loud and
and
not
also
people that like loud noises.
It's one of those. Firework displays where if you get in traffic, if you get caught in
literally
there,
last year,
2 hours.
It was 2 hours. We decided to go down during the events.
Ooh,
and it was
about
an hour and a half to get home, and it's literally a 10-minute drive from our house. So it was pretty crazy. We were we're not going all the way in, but we will go right to the border.
Yeah, last year we tried not to get too close, but we ended up getting caught in the traffic anyway. But it was fun. Cookout sounds awesome. What kind of things did you have at the cookout? Ghost stories and campfire till 3 a.m. How are you awake right now? I can't.
Yeah, no joke.
I can't. The weather's been weird here lately, guys. Our hometown, not necessarily Fairview where our store is at, but we live a little ways away from the store. Our town got hit pretty hard with some storms. There were several roofs that were blown off, lots of trees falling on cars and houses and stuff. As far as I know, nobody got hurt, but there were some people that were displaced. There's still power outages. And with this hot weather, man, don't risk it. If you're somebody that, is compromised health-wise in some way, be proactive about it because these storms are pretty wild. I'm going to stop preaching, but I just hope you're all staying safe.
Get off your soapbox!
So yeah, and funny story, my parents were without power for 3 days?
Becky said, I'll do my best, but my internet's being funny.
Yeah, so there were storms here earlier today too, and the internet's kind of hopping off and on. So the reason why I started saying this is because if the stream starts being funny, don't worry, you can always catch the replay. And also, if our stream starts being funny, we will do a redo, and it's not like you'll miss out on anything. So no worries. We will do our best to make sure everybody gets a chance to shop these beautiful beads.
The beautiful bead footage.
And of course, we'll do a redo for the demo at the end too. But anyway, my parents were in line because they'd been without power and air conditioning for 4 days, and they're
wasn't that long.
Older. And so they were in line to get so generators were sold out everywhere. They had driven a while. They were in line to get a generator. And it was like $2,200.
This is the intro. It's just a very long intro because we're
just chatting.
We're talking about our 4th of July.
Telling stories. So my dad was about to spend like $2,200 on a generator. Like, that's too much money. But anyway, he was in line, and Ameren, the power company, called and said, hey, your power's back on. So thankfully they put the card away and got out of there. But yeah.
Did it?
No, they didn't get it. He was literally about to pay, and my mom came running in the store, and she's like, wait, Ameren just called. Don't buy the generator. So I feel like that's perfect timing.
All right.
So
we're confusing the people. Let's get started.
Yeah, let's
they
get
think
started.
We're getting off the air.
No, we're just chatting. So what we're going to be looking at tonight are beautiful, beautiful beads from different parts of Africa. We are focusing on trade beads. So we are looking at bone trade beads tonight. The majority of what we're looking at is like only bone, but there are a couple beads that we'll talk about that have wood on them, specifically ebony wood. So that's going to be fun. And then after we are done taking a peek at the beautiful beads that we're featuring, we're going to dive in and we're going to play with some of the beads. So the way that you can shop, if you'd like to shop the beads that we're featuring tonight, Alex is going to be putting a letter on screen and a price, and you can just comment if you're watching live. You can just comment the letter of the item you'd like to purchase and the quantity that you'd like to purchase. Please make sure to put the quantity, even if you're wanting one bead. Please make sure to put the quantity. That way we know that it's an order. And if this is your first time shopping with us, please remember to send us a message either here on Facebook, or if you're watching on YouTube, you can hop over to Facebook, or you can send it through our messaging system on our website to let us know what your email address is. And then also you can be one step ahead and let us know what your mailing address is. And so that way we can get your invoice sent to you. And yeah, that's all I had to say. Whew, I'm winded now.
All right, let's get into it.
Suzanne says it's ebony restricted. You know, I don't know anything about that, but the ebony that we're looking at today is it's modern ebony, so I would think not. But I could be wrong. It could have just moved over to this country before restrictions. But I don't know. It's from Tanzania, so I'll have to look into that. I'm not really sure. Okie doke.
My shirt tonight is FTR, Living Legends. It's a tag team, a tag team group from AEW,
which is All Elite Wrestling.
Professional wrestling, yeah. So, and they're the greatest tag team on the planet. Top guys. Out.
I think we're the greatest tag team on the planet.
Oh, there you go. Top people.
Move the mouse real quick so I can see the screen. All right.
Yeah.
Nothing to it but to do it.
All right.
If anybody has any questions about how it works, you can just drop it in chat. But otherwise, we'll move on. Okay, so before we actually look at the individual items, I just want to give you a peek at what we're going to be kind of playing with a little bit later tonight, so you can make your purchasing decisions with this in mind if you like the project. We're going to be kind of showing my secrets for how to work with different sized holes for your knotted projects. So we're going to be making kind of like a mala style or rosary style piece with kind of like a hang down. Sorry, I'm trying to reach really far so you guys can see it. And then we're going to be doing some different knotting techniques, and you'll get a closer look a little bit later on. Let me scooch this out of the way, and we will. I was using this chain spool as a lift for my display. All right, let's do it. Alex, you ready with A?
Already.
Cool.
Ready. Be ready.
Where's my
I
oracle?
know you never have to get ready if you're always ready.
That's true.
All right. Hey, price.
Oh, thank you.
$1.
So our friend Deb says, no, just rosewood is restricted. Good to know. I didn't know about that either. I usually only know about these things when I try to get these things and I'm told no. And then I say, why? All right, so this is A. I'm going to zoom in real quick. I don't know why we're so zoomed out. There we go. Okay, so this is A. These are $1 each, and these are beautiful hand-faceted bone. These are vintage beads from Kenya. So by vintage, I mean they were probably made about 30 years ago. And last week we looked at brass, but the week before that we looked at glass, and we had antique and vintage. So this is vintage, not quite as old as some of the glass. But these beautiful beads are a little under, I mean, they vary in size because they're handmade, but they're a little under an inch in their width, and then their height. They really range anywhere from about 6 millimeters to about 10 millimeters.
Becky said Alex's shirt needs its own segment of the show.
That's funny.
Thank you, Suzanne.
But just to kind of give you guys some idea of the different shapes and sizes we have here, I'll hold some up in my hand. And then these are bone all the way through.
Thank you,
they
Deborah.
do not have a core. They do not have a filler core or a filled core like a lot of other bone beads do. So these are actually cut on the side. And then the majority of what we're looking at tonight is going to be cow bone. Occasionally we get some beads from different parts of Africa, different countries in Africa that are camel bone as well. But what we're looking at tonight, to the best of my knowledge and to the best of our African bead traders' knowledge, is cow bone. Now, when we think about the animal that is being used to make these beads, oftentimes we think, you know, it's sad. We don't want to have an animal killed for it. But one thing that I think is important to note is that this is from I don't want to call it recycled because that's not the right word, but it is why can't I think of the word? It's like it's, help me, my brain's not working. When it's like the part that's not used.
Thank you, Elise.
Otherwise. So there's a term for it, and my brain is not working the way I would like it to. But anyway, it is something that would otherwise be not used. So the animals aren't killed for this reason. And with that, we'll move on.
Sustainable?
No, I mean, yes,
let's move on.
Sustainable, but that's not the word I was going for.
We'll be here all night.
I don't want to call it like factory seconds because they're not factory. They're not factory farmed animals, but.
Hey, look, we have a price chart tonight, so this will be easy for me.
Awesome, and because I am doing something different, I'm going to be really fumbly tonight. So this is B. These are vintage Kenyan beads as well. This is $1.50 a bead, and this is what's called batik bone. So this is a technique that you see a lot with salvaged. Yes, salvaged. Thank you. Byproduct, that works too, but salvaged is the word that I was going for.
Thank you, Suzanne.
So this is batik, as I said. We see batik a lot on bone, stone, fabrics. It's a technique that dates back to 4th century BC in Egypt. And this is a process that started out with bleaching using beeswax resists, often they would use like clamp resists as well, depending on the process that was being used and the material that was being altered. Modern day batik is done with a variety of techniques. Often it's acids or bleach, Barbara. But it used to be where they would just pretty much just like set it out in the sun to bake. And the just artistry that has been carried through all these thousands of years is incredible. So I do want to give you a disclaimer with these. Any of the batik bone, any of this dark colored bone, you might notice on my hands that we're seeing some color come off. That is because this is a charred bone. So this has a wood filler on the inside. It's not the marrow, it is a wood filler. And so when they do the heat treatment to do the colorant like this, the wood gets charred. So if it's something that you're planning to wear on a white dress, I would make sure to wash it off first because you might get some on your hands.
How long are beads?
That's a great question. So they are approximately 1 inch in width and approximately ½ inch in height. But they do really vary. So keep that in mind with your decisions. And if you have special size requests, feel free to message us with your order to let us know if you want big ones or small ones or varied sizes or all the same size and shape. We will do our best, but we can't guarantee that they'll be super, super close. So moving on to C, this is another batik item. And Alex, if you can adjust to C on the screen, that would be awesome. Let me pick out 3 here that kind of show some of the variants in size and color.
You're ready.
Awesome, thank you. So these are sun tiles, and these are vintage from Kenya as well. And I want to show you the shape of this. You see how it kind of looks like a comma when it's on its side? The underside has a print as well, but it is not quite the same print. It's almost a sun, but not quite. So these are awesome. And so these are drilled at the top. They have 1 drill through the top. So in your designs, they're going to hang down. So they're a really cool element to give you some texture in your pieces. And they also work really well as just like a beautiful centerpiece with some stones on either side. Just a very cool piece. And they do range in size. However, I would say most of them are a little under 1 inch by about 3/4 of an inch. If you're buying in even numbers, we will just kind of instinctively grab ones that are similar in pair, we will grab them by pairs that are similar in color and size for you. But if you, like I said, if you want different than that, let us know. So again, this is the batik bone. And like I said, that process dates back.
Thank you, Teresa.
Long ago. And it, you know, the process has been done all over the world, not specifically Egypt, but that's just the earliest.
Bone beads be used on bracelets.
Yeah, definitely. They're very hardy.
All right. I'm gonna be right back.
Okie doke. You want to get me set up with D?
Yep.
Awesome.
Gotcha.
Thank you. So on to D.
I'll move it just so you can see the comments.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. All right, moving on to D. So these are vintage as well. They still make the same shape and size, but these are dotted donuts, or we call these eye beads. But they are made in Ghana and Kenya. So not positive if these particular ones were made in Ghana or Kenya, but my best guess is that they're from Kenya, just based on how they did the core on the inside. And so it is a filled core. Some of them, the filled core is not quite as obvious. But it is, I mean, this is a natural product. So over time, the core can become a little bit loose with a lot of wear. So speaking of how these beads wear, if they are to be used on a bracelet or something that gets a lot of wear, if you notice that the core kind of jostles loose a little bit, you can just use some glue to glue it back in. I would try hypo cement, because it's a little bit more of like a liquidy shock absorbent glue. Super glue, I probably would stay away from. I would use a glue that kind of dries a little bit gummy. But D, as I said, was $1.50, and they are vintage from either Ghana or Kenya. Best guess is Kenya. And in size, let's see how big they are. They do range in size. They're going to be just under 1 inch to 3/4 of an inch, and then about 1/2 inch in width. And they are cow bone as well. So Becky just linked the hypo cement in chat. And if you see Becky typing in chat, those links from her are links that you can trust. She is one of our staff members. All right, I am moving on to E. And give me just a second to get this typed in. Got it. Okay. Happy Wednesday. All right, so moving on to more batik bone. So these are $1.50 as well. Same kind of deal as what we just looked at, except the reverse. So these have the batik process done, and then they have like a etched or carved reveal on them. And this is another one where we've got that kind of charred effect that happens on the fill. So this would be another one that you'd probably want to clean before wearing it on a white piece of jewelry, or just put some bigger beads next to it so it doesn't touch. But again, these are just a little under 1 inch, and they're about 1/2 inch in width. And these are absolutely stunning in color. These are bone. A lot of people look at this color and assume that they are a dark wood, but nope, they are bone. They just have been heat treated, and that's what darkens the color. What I love about these is that they have this beautiful kind of almost flame painted effect on some of them. So some are a little lighter than others. There's one that's a little darker, but you can still see that beautiful kind of flame painted effect. And then of course you can see how it has rubbed off on my fingers a little bit. All right, we are moving on to F. Give me just a moment to adjust that on screen. Whoops. F. And they are $3.75. Okay, so give me just a moment to measure these. They are about 1.5 inches by a little over 1 inch. And these are modern trade beads. They are made in Tanzania, and they are ebony wood mixed with bone. So they are like a bicone shape. Sometimes we hear this called a rice shape. But to me, this isn't really a rice shape because it has this kind of point in the middle of it. So let me grab one that is a little bit easier for you to see what I'm talking about. This one is a little bit wider on the side and a little bit narrower this way. So not all of them are perfectly round. They're handmade and they will do their best to create a beautiful piece of art out of the material that is available to them. So nothing is wasted, which is awesome, but they do vary in shape and size because of that. But the majority of them are, well, let me measure this one. This one's kind of a shorter one. Yeah, that one's over 1.5 inches too. So a little over 1.5 inches. And then this one's a little wider. That one, about 1.25 inches wide. So they do vary, like I said. But I just think it's really cool to have this kind of mixed material here with the ebony wood and the bone. So these are modern and they are made in Tanzania. These are my favorite from the entire show. I just think they're awesome. And this is the bead that I featured on the sample necklace that we looked at a little bit earlier. And I chose one that was a little bit narrower, a little bit more rectangle shape. But I just think it's a really cool bead. Really, really, really cool. Okay, so those, when they are loose, are $3.75. Alex left me. Now I'm confused. Hold on one second. So with those, we'd sell them loose for $3.75. We also have them available as a half strand. And a half strand of those, let me grab the strands to show you. A half strand of those is $25. And then a full strand is $48. So we do have full strands and half strands available for those as well. Let me look up and see how many are on those strands. You do save a little bit of money by buying the full strand. You get that full strand discount. So those are, there's approximately 22 beads per strand. And they're big beads. So you got a lot of design possibility there. Let me zoom out to give you a look at the full, there we go. So this is one strand here. So you can see they are pretty big. And we will zoom back in. And let me check the comments. You got it. All right, so moving on to G. These are $1.50 each. And then we do have full strands and half strands available for these as well. These are modern batik from Kenya. This is always a very popular design. It's just those lines across. Very popular, kind of makes it look almost like a melon or like a pumpkin. So these, like I said, are modern from Kenya. They are bone. They are cow bone. This is letter G, and they are $1.50 each, or $25 for a full strand. And the full strands are approximately 40 beads. And then, of course, the half strands are 20 beads. And let's see how big they are. They're about 1 inch by 1.5 inches. So there's some pretty good sized beads. And they all pretty much have about a 3 to 4 millimeter hole, but they do vary because they are a natural product. So like this one has a little bit of an inset on its hole. So you have to really kind of design intentionally to cater for that. You can see this one, the hole is a lot bigger on one side than the other. So there is some variance there. Like I said, they are a natural product, so they do vary in color as well. But most of them, let me grab a big handful to show you. So most of them are that, oh, and I'm going to throw them now. Most of them are that beautiful kind of chocolate brown color. And some of them will have swirls of the lighter color on one side, like this one. And they have that kind of color painted or flame painted look to them, like the other boutique bones have. But if you have a preference for color, you can let us know. And this was G. They are $1.50 per bead. And like I said, we have them available in full strands as well and half strands. So $48 for a full strand or $25 for a half strand. So you get a little bit of a discount when you buy the full strand. All right. Give me just a moment to reset my screen here. And Alex is on the way back, so he can get us caught up. We're done. So we're going to switch over, and we're going to start to make a project now. Do a switch to face cam and let them know how they can shop if they'd like, because we have some new friends watching that just popped on. I'm going to go wash my hands because I was really handling those beads that are heat treated, and Alex is going to let you know how you can shop.
Did we lead off on C? Where I left off? Ruh-roh.
It's okay, we'll catch up.
All right. Sally. All right, that's the last one that I got. Thanks everybody for watching. We do appreciate it. We do these live streams every single Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central. So you definitely want to, hang out with us. We are pretty consistent as long as we're both in good health. But yeah, we've been doing it since 2020, and I think we've probably missed 10 or so weeks, but
we're pretty
consistent, I would say. Make sure you like and follow the page. Join the Facebook group as well. And
clean hands.
Check out the website, beadplace.net, for all of your beading needs.
So one thing that's really exciting is that you guys are probably all familiar with Interweave. They're a major craft publishing company in our industry. They put on what used to be Bead Fest, now it's called Maker Fest. They were the publishers of step-by-step beads, stringing, beadwork, Easy Metal magazine, jewelry making, not Leopard Journal. I don't remember. Step-by-step wire, all of those magazines. They're no longer in print, but they still do virtual versions of the magazine. And then they have like a huge online library of learning products. And so they recently pulled all of their hundreds of thousands of readers that are subscribed to their mailing lists. And they did Reader's Choice Awards again this year. And we took first place in Best Online Bead Shop, which is incredible. It's surreal to think about.
Really awesome.
We took first place in Best Local Bead Shop, which is really cool because, there's not a million bead stores left, but there are some pretty incredible locally owned bead shops around the world. And the fact that we took first place is just it's just wow. And then we also won Best Jewelry Making Instagram, or Best Instagram Local Shop. So That's awesome as well. But I wanted to just take a moment to ask you guys, if you're not already following us on Instagram, if you would follow us on Instagram, because we, we don't do these lives on Instagram. But we're thinking about it. We're thinking about growing our Instagram page. It's not quite as like active as our Facebook and our YouTube. But that kind of made us realize, Instagram is a pretty cool platform. So we're just the Bead Place on Instagram. We posted a story today. No, a reel. We posted a reel today. So if you guys would take a minute to like it when we're done, or if you can swipe over there and like it and leave a comment, that would be really, really cool. So yeah, it's pretty surreal to like come from, a startup to being voted the best online bead shop. Like that's just, it's surreal. That's the only way that I can say it. So thank you to those of you who voted for us. That's incredibly awesome. We haven't like officially posted about it yet. We were waiting for the go ahead, and it kept getting delayed. So now we have the official permission to talk about it.
Does this make sense to you? Variety?
It does. Just write it down, and then we will make sure to send a strand with some variety. So yeah, and with that, I just wanted to say, like, not only thank you to those of you who voted, but also, we would not be able to do what we do without you guys. So thank you. Because like, your support during these shows.
Congratulations. Woo woo, congrats.
Thanks.
Woohoo, congratulations.
It allows us to keep growing and to keep finding these really cool beads for you guys. So so thank you for your support, because not only does it support the store, but it supports us as well, because this is what we do. We don't have other jobs. So yeah, we ready? We caught up? You good?
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Let's make some jewelry.
Cold. Put this back on.
That works.
Alrighty, let's
switch back to hand cam, and let's talk about what we're making.
What's that?
So this is the start of an, I gotta zoom in. Hold on. Hold please. There we go. So I have, in my necklace so far, I have some of these really cool Java beads. This is the black and white stripe. If you would like to add one of these strands to your order, if you love these like I love these, you can do that. You can just say, I'd like black and white stripe Java beads. These are $12 a strand. They are made in the East Java region of Indonesia.
I always wondered why they were called Java beads.
Yeah, I didn't know why they were called Java beads until just a few years ago. I just, they're made in East Java, but I didn't know like if there was something behind that. But it's because these particular ones, I guess, are the most like widely made bead in the Java region. So yeah, we have this just as a little kind of like accent bead, so I did just want to mention that. And then the other pendants, or the other pieces that we're using, Becky's going to link in chat. Becky is linking in chat on Facebook, so if you're watching on YouTube, you can watch for the link list after the stream, or you can head on over to Facebook. But this particular pendant is a tiara cast product. It is made in America, lead and nickel-free pewter, electroplated in copper, and then it is just, incredible quality. I have one of these in brass that I've had on my keychain for a couple years now, and it hasn't like worn off, which is awesome. The other feather product or pendant that I want to show you is this particular one. And this is from our artistic pewter line, and This is, or do we call, is it organic, artistic?
There's no way.
I don't know. It's along the same lines as Tierra Cast, only a small batch designer made. And these particular ones have an anti-tarnish coating on them. Not that Tierra Cast isn't awesome, but they don't have an anti-tarnish coating on them. So the color over time could, what I'm trying to say is they could look different from one another over time, depending on if you live in a humid area. So those are the products that Becky is linking. This is the 3-inch feather pendant, and then this is our textured 48 millimeter leaf feather pendant that Becky has linked below. All right, the other ones that I wanted to show you are going to be these wavy spacer beads. Becky's linking those, but basically what I did with these is I just kind of used them to cover the super large hole on my bone beads so that the knots wouldn't slip through. And then a couple more things that I want to show you before we get started, just so you know what I'm talking about. The gemstone beads that I'm using are our 8 millimeter black and gold Amazonite strands. This is the matte Amazonite, and I believe Becky is going to link that as well. This is the 8 millimeter matte. And my cord of choice tonight is Eslon bead cord, and this is in the color celery. There's a very similar color called fern, and that would be beautiful as well. But I like celery because it's a little bit more blue toned and less yellow toned. So it works really, really well with the Amazonite, which has kind of like that blue-green sea foam quality to it. All right, I think that's it, right? Let's make a necklace. So let me scooch my mat over here where I have some strands cut open already. And then scooch everything out of my way. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to cut actually 2 lengths of my Eslon cord. And for this necklace, I'm not going to do a super, super long knotted section. It's going to be, I would say, like 18 inches. Haven't quite decided that yet. But I'm going to cut 2 lengths that are equal to my arms outstretched wide. So I am a little over 5 feet. So we can just say that it's a little under 2 yards. And we're going to make sure that we've got 2 of those that are equal in length. And so I am just cutting that off camera. You can see my Eslon spool wandering around. All right, so let me kind of resituate here and get everything back on the mat. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my pendants, and I want a layered look for this. So I'm just going to string both of my ends of Eslon through, and I'm going to put the smaller one in front, and then the larger one will kind of peek out from behind it. And of course, I pulled the other one back when I leaned forward. So I'm using the copper color tonight, but we do have these metal pendants available in a variety of colors. So I'm going to string these through to about the halfway point. So I should have 4 ends here. I'm going to make sure that those ends are all the same length, like that. And then I'm going to tie this in an overhand knot right above the pendants. And I'm going to keep this pretty tight, but not so tight that there's not movement. So with this, because I don't need it super, super tight, I'm just going to use my fingers to kind of inch this knot down close to the top of the pendants. You can see we still have some pretty good movement there. So after I've done this knot, my first tip that I'm going to share with you for how to get great knots is we're going to go in after we knot, and we're going to pull each of these individual strands to tighten it in place. And you'll notice that maybe one or two of them are going to feel like, you know, really pretty loose when you thought you had a pretty tight knot. So great, we've got a lot of movement still. Now what we're going to do, like let's say if we had one of these beads here and we just strung it straight down on the ends of our cord, what would happen is it would go over the top of that knot. But in this particular necklace, I want to feature that knot, so I want it to be visible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of these spacer beads here. This is the wavy spacer that Becky linked just moments ago. And I am using a similar color, or the same color here. I'm doing copper for all my findings, but I think it would be super fun to do mixed metals. So let's say use a copper feather on the back and then do a brass one here, and then switch up your spacers at the top to different colors as well. So because these are wavy, you do have to pay attention to which direction you string them on. But it's just personal preference. And all 4 of our strands of Eslon do fit easily through. If you find that your ends of Eslon have frayed, just cut the end down a little bit and you'll be fine. So I'm just stringing those through. I usually do 2 at one time, and then I just kind of force the last ones through, and it'll be really, really easy for you because you'll be holding this right in front of your face. But for me, it's like 18 inches away from my face. So pardon me while I struggle to get the cord through. There we go. I did it. All right. So we are stringing this down, and we're just going to make sure that that lands right on top of that knot. Just like that. So now we have that peak of color from that celery Eslon cord, and I'm going to string my bone bead through. So speaking of struggling to get strands through a bead, this bead is really, really incredible, but it's hollow. So if I tried to string all 4 of these through here, I'd be fighting it for a while. And so there's a lot of different ways that you can work with a hollow bead. A lot of people just try over and over again and eventually get it. But I don't have the patience for that. So I want to show you guys a really cool product. This is our elastic cord needle. And we have used this in a lot of different projects before. But I'm going to show you what I always forget myself whenever I work with it. So it's the first thing that I want to tell you guys. You have to string your bead on here first. So string your bead onto the needle. Because if you don't, the cord is going to fall out. But let me show you what this looks like. We have a loop handle on one end, and that helps you kind of pull the needle through beads. And then this other end is really interesting. Give it just a moment to try and focus. Not sure if you guys can really see that. Let me put my hand behind it. Maybe I'll pull it back just a little. Well, what I'm trying to show you here is that it's essentially like a hook on the end. There is a little split in the end, and the opening is actually back here. So we're going to use it to basically pull our cord through. It's designed to do stretchy bracelets like this. So you would design your stretchy bracelet on the needle and then you'd pull your cord back through it after you have your design. Very helpful for designing with hollow beads, as I said. But I'm using it to pull the cord through as I'm knotting. So you do have to string your bead on first, and then that handle stops the bead from falling off. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull my cord through the hook, and maybe once that's done, it'll be easier for you guys to see that hook. Could you guys see that hook at all? I know what I see on my viewfinder is a little bit different than what you guys are able to see, but I'm just curious if you guys could see it at all. Sally says the elastic cord needle is a game changer. Yeah, that is for sure. It is a really cool tool. I mean, it has a very specific purpose, that's for sure. But as long as you are, needing that specific purpose, of course. The only thing I will say is that sometimes you have to kind of fiddle with the eye, because it's not really designed for multiple cords like this. So you might have to use your tweezers or your pliers to kind of adjust the eye a little bit to get it to go through. And there's no getting around that. Here we go. I have them all loaded in, so hopefully you can see. So I slid them in this way, and they're just kind of caught in there now. So in order to be able to fit through smaller beads like an 8 mil, it does have to be a really tiny eye. All right. So then we unhook, and this is what we have. All right. So now what we're going to do is string that last spacer on. And I'm holding it closer to my face, so it should be faster this time around, guys. Should be. We'll see. Maybe. I just had a bunch of caffeine before the show, so I might be shaking a little bit. So everybody's saying you could see it. Awesome. Let me unhide Sally's comment so you can see what I'm doing a little bit better. And of course I tangle my cords when I do that. All right, I've got them through. So we're just going to slide this down, and that is going to be the top of our design. And that's what we've got. So next, what we're going to do is we're going to pull out our next favorite knotting tool. This is our knotting tweezers, and this is a bent nose tweezers. I'll give you a chance to see what that looks like. So this helps us by placing our knots exactly where we want them to go. So I'm going to want to put a knot right here at the top of my design. And so I'm going to loop my cord over and then pull the tail end through that loop, but I'm not going to let that loop close. So I'm still holding on to that loop. I'm not letting it close. Let me move this. Which way do I need to move that? So I'm going to take my tweezers through the loop, and I'm going to grab right on top of my design, right where I want that knot to go. So I'm through the loop, and I've grabbed right there, and now I'm going to pull my tail ends. And you'll notice, let me zoom out just a bit so you can see what I'm doing here. You'll notice that I'm pulling back and forth like this, side to side. And what that's doing is it's making sure that this knot is going to slip down where I want it to. So when I take my tweezers out, I keep my fingers close and I can just push that knot right there, and we have a very tight knot. Now again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull each of those threads individually, and that really cinches up the knot. And because we have this really cool spacer bead on top, the knot doesn't fall into our design at all. And so we can see that color. Now, because I want a bigger kind of pop of color between my beads, I'm going to be knotting with 2 cords on each side. And you can see that the knot is a little bit chunkier that way. We see the color more. And then with these Amazonite beads, I'm able to put 2 of those cords through them. But with the Java beads, the Java glass, only 1 fits through. So I'll show you how that is done. So let me get the sample out of the way here. Carmen asks, how long does the sale last? Until they're gone. These shows have been pretty popular lately. We have sold out of most of the items that we've featured in these shows over the last few shows. So I would recommend that you get your orders in quickly, and then that way you won't risk not being able to get the beads that you want. So it is while supplies last. So what I've just done is I've separated my cords here. I've got 2 on one side, 2 on the other side. Let me zoom back in. So I am going to pick one of my Java glass beads, and I'm going to pick a small one here. So I've got a small Java. I'm going to string my bead cord through it. And again, if you are having a hard time getting a frayed end through a bead, it's okay to just kind of trim the tail end off. So that's what I'm going to do. Shipping is usually $5 depending on what you order. But if you order something very large, like a full strand of anything, it could be $8. But that's for US shipping. If you live outside of the US, if you want to message us, we can give you a quote on shipping. Okay, so I have 1 bead strung on one of my cords here. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring these cords back together, and I'm going to tie a square knot with them. But I want that square knot to be central on top of my bead. So I'm going to make sure that the cord that my bead is on is straight up and down, and then the cord that my bead is not on is knotting around it, if that makes sense. So it's kind of a tension thing here. So I've got that start of a square knot, and then I'm going to finish the square knot, and I'll show you guys what it looks like. Okay, so you can see here, I hope you can see, that we've got these 2 that are hanging out off to the side. We're not using those now, but the one cord that my bead is on is going straight up and down through the bead, and the other one that's hanging down has kind of almost done like a parenthesis shape around it. And so we're going to do the same thing now with the other side, and it just creates this cute little jot from one side to the other. Sally says, did Alex see my addition to my order? 5 of letter A and a strand of the black and white Java bead. Hey, Alex, can you come add to Sally's order, please. So we are stringing down. Thank you. And we're going to do the same thing on this side. So the start of a square knot, and once you have that, let me zoom in a little closer so you can see what I'm talking about. That might help. So you can see that this one is almost kind of wrapped around the other cord. So I'm going to hold that still for just a second so you can see it. And then when you go in to tie the second half of that square knot, a bead stuck to my elbow. When you go in to tie the second half of that square knot, it'll place it so that it hangs a little bit more uniformly, and the bead doesn't sit out to the side crooked. So this is what we have. And you see how it kind of splays those beads out? All right, so next what we're going to do is move on to our Amazonite beads, and we're going to utilize that elastic cord needle with the Amazonite beads. And how we're going to do that is we are going to, ooh, that one's really neat. We are going to basically pre-string them, if that makes sense. So we're going to grab our elastic cord needle. We're going to grab an Amazonite bead. We're going to pre-string and pick a side of your cord. And with these, because the hole on the gemstone is so small, I just do this one at a time. So I push the S-line through my hook, and then I'm going to just pull this down. And the first one goes on really easily. So I'm going to pull the tail end out, I'm going to unhook, and then I'm going to go back through that Amazonite again. So I'm taking it through, same direction I did before, and I'm going to grab the other strand of the S-line that I didn't have before, and I'm going to pull it up through. Now, this is where this handle at the end comes in handy. We're going to use that to kind of pull through. I sometimes find that if I'm trying to pull from down here and pull it up through, because it is a tight fit, your finger will just slip back. So that's where I really love this little handle. I can use it to kind of twist the needle through and pull it through. So I have both of my ends through my Amazonite bead here, but one of them I haven't pulled the tail end out yet, so I'm going to do that. And now we have a bead strung on, where otherwise it would probably be pretty darn impossible to get that S-line cord through, or get two of that S-line cord through the gemstone bead. So it's a pretty cool trick, really. It's a great product, and it certainly helps when your cord is kind of flimsy. It allows you to be able to go through the hollow beads like this, and also really tight hole beads like this. All right, so now what we're going to do is a pearl knotting technique using that bent nose tweezers that we just talked about. So we're going to make that crossover. We're going to bring the tail end through. So what we have is our little knot like that, but we're not going to tighten it yet. So we've got that overhand knot. We're not going to tighten it yet, but we're going to go through with our tweezers just like we did before. And we are going to grab, I'll get my finger out of the way in just a second. We're going to grab right on top of that bead. Now, if I'm knotting with silk or something that's kind of bouncy, sometimes what I'll do, well, first I'll pre-stretch my silk. But the next thing that I'll do is I'll push down with my tweezers on my design. So push down on the bead and then grab. With S-line, I don't really feel the need to do that. I like to keep my S-on almost kind of stiff. And so if I knot it too tight, you can definitely tell. All right, so I slip that out, I'm keeping my fingers close, and I'm pushing that knot down. Now we're gonna take it one step further to tighten this knot. We're gonna separate these cords and we're gonna pull. And that really anchors the knot. Check that out. So now we're gonna do the same thing to this side. So, alrighty. What we're gonna do, and I almost forgot again. I forgot to pre-string. It's important to pre-string. We're gonna string the bead on. We're gonna go through one of the cords from the other side with our elastic cord needle. We're gonna hook it through the hook and we're gonna slide down. We're gonna unhook and we are going to pull the tail end out. All right, so we're gonna go through the bead again in that same direction with our elastic cord needle. Hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing. So you can see I've got one of the sides through and I've gone through again with my elastic cord needle. And now I'm going to grab the other one, the other tail end from this side, and I'm gonna hook through with the hook of my elastic cord needle. And I'm going to pull it through. And again, you know, it's not gonna be an easy pull, so you kind of have to twist it. But most standard drill gemstones will fit 2 strands of that S-on bead cord, but only with that elastic cord needle or some other kind of miracle tool at least. All right, so now that we have both of those bead cords through, what we're gonna do is the same thing that we just did, only I'm gonna do it a little bit faster since we've done the knot a couple times. But if you guys are having trouble seeing, or if you're just joining, I can certainly slow it down on the next one. So again, we're gonna bring our knotting tweezers through. You can grab those knotting tweezers at beadplace.net. They're really inexpensive. So I pulled back and forth. I'm keeping my fingers tight to the knot, and then I'm separating and pulling, and that really anchors that knot down. And just look how cute that is so far. Awesome. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is do another Java, and then we're gonna get into some funky stuff. So I'm stringing one of the Java beads to one side and just through the one cord. Remember, we're hard pressed to have a decent hole size with these Java beads. Sometimes they've got great holes. Sometimes the holes are itty bitty, super tiny. So it's better to just kind of cater your design to kind of err on the side of caution and design with just one strand going through it. So again, we're going to tie the empty strand around the other strand so that that first strand that we used is straight up and down. The bead strand, the strand that has the Java bead on it, is straight up and down. And then the other one is knotting around it. And we're going to do one more, the other half of our square knot, and tie it. And same thing to the other side. So this is what we've got so far with that cute little swag. And it kind of mimics the stripes on the Java. So that's why I love this technique with this particular type of bead. It just works really well. Now you can be careful to choose Java beads that are around the same shape and size if you want. But I just grab whatever bead makes me happy in that moment. So again, we're stringing one Java bead to one thread on the other side, doesn't matter which one, but then just make sure that that one is the one that's kind of straight up and down, and you're knotting the other thread around it. And it's truly just a tension thing, guys. They can kind of swap back and forth as you're working. So just make sure to pull your tension correct before you close that knot. Does that make sense, what I'm saying? Makes sense in my head. All right, so now we've got that. And our threads are separated. So now what we're going to do is a section of 3 of the Amazonite beads. So because I'm stringing 3 of the same kind of knot and the same kind of bead in a row, I'm going to pre-string 3 of my Amazonite beads on this needle. And I'm going to catch one of my threads from one side and pull them through, but pull them through one by one. It's important to do one by one because although this is a quality product, it is a teeny tiny piece of metal and we don't want to break that tip off. If you force it and you don't feel any movement, it could break. So just be smart about what you're trying to put through. Oh, look at me. I hooked it before I pre-strung. So again, we're going to take that elastic needle back through those beads that are already on that first side. Pardon me. And then hook the other side. Goes in easily. And for those of you that are just joining us, I'm just going to kind of catch you up to speed with what we're doing. So I've hooked the second side. The first side is already through the beads, as is my elastic cord needle. And now I'm going to pull them down one by one. And remember that handle at the back of the needle is your best friend. Use that to grab because you might need to kind of pull these down with a little bit of force. But they'll go on. And then we unhook and pull the tail end out. Now, because that does take a little bit of effort, what I like to do anytime I'm stringing a sequence of multiples of the same bead and the same knot, I'll kind of preload them and string them all together. But let's say you were going to do Amazonite, Java bead, Amazonite, Java bead, you would need to do one at a time. So I'm going to slide my bead down. I'm going to do that same overhand knot, pull my tail end through, and this time the tail end does include those beads. So I'm going to bring my tweezers through the loop that I've just made. I'm going to grab and place my knot. And keep my fingers close when I slip the tweezers out of the knot. And then again, we're going to pull from both sides of that knot to really tighten it. We're going to slide the next bead down and make sure that they're tight. Those tail ends are tight. And then we're going to tie another knot. And we're going to pull the tail end through that loop. Again, we've got one bead included in that tail end. You can put a bead stopper on the end if you don't trust it to not fall off, but with just a few beads, I usually don't put a bead stopper on. Not too much trouble to put them back on if they fall off, but what was the jingle that we had? Was it last week or the week before? If you like it, then you better use a bead stopper. I think, who sings that? Beyonce? So one more round of this kind of knot, and then I will show you where we're at. And we're just going to move on just on this side from here on out, and we are almost done with the techniques here. We probably will not finish this necklace tonight, but I did just want to kind of show you the different techniques that you can use to incorporate beads with different hole sizes into your designs. So look at those beautiful, chunky, uniform knots. that would otherwise not be possible between these beads without that elastic cord needle and that little pre-string trick that we do. I just think it's really awesome. So again, we've got 2 strands of S-Lon bead cord going through these 8mm gemstones. We've got 1 strand going through the Java glass, and we've got all 4 of our ends going through this beautiful Tanzanian bone and ebony wood bead. And of course, we featured the spacers to kind of cover the bead hole so that those knots wouldn't get sucked back into it. And then I did want to show you, oh, and of course all the beads get stuck to my elbow again. That's what I get for trying to use a smaller mat. But I did want to show you on this, the sample that I kind of pre-did. We do have these cute little tie-ons here. You can, pardon me, you can just get little ends of your cord and just tie them on with your square knots to kind of cover any gaps, or you can use this design opportunity to help you if you decide to make a longer design than what your cord will allow. You can actually just tie these cute little ties on and leave them when you're tying a new piece of cord on. So that's what I did here. I was just kind of experimenting with knotting techniques and decided I wanted it a little bit longer. So I used those tail ends as a design opportunity to add some whimsy into my design. So does anyone have any questions at all about what we've done tonight? And with these, I did sections of 5 beads, so you could really fill up the whole entire elastic cord needle and really get going with your knotting. And again, I have beads stuck to my elbow. Let's see. I'll give you just a minute to ask any questions. I'm going to switch back to face cam. Let's see, how am I going to do that? All right, hello. Okay, so Sally says, can you add an elastic cord needle to my order too? Yes, we would be happy to do that. So thanks everybody for hanging out with us tonight. This is, as always, as you guys know, is the highlight of my week.
Sorry.
Yep. We're just at this point, Alex, we're just seeing if anybody has any questions about the techniques that we showed tonight. Becky has linked all of the relevant items that we used in chat. Oh, look at that. Becky says complete supply list. So if you're watching on YouTube, Becky's linking those over in the Facebook chat. Otherwise, we can post a supply list link to the stream after the fact. Let's see, what else do I want to say? These are first come, first serve, limited quantities because they are vintage beads. And we are here every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Central. We do have some exciting stuff coming up the rest of the month. I just want to take a minute to show you guys our project for this Friday's Christmas in July ornament party that Softflex company is hosting over on their page. So Friday at 7 p.m. Central, we are a guest on their Christmas in July ornament party. Becky, I'm going to throw one more thing at you. If you could link the kit for the Christmas in July party that we're doing this Friday, I would love that. So it is using vintage crystals, vintage pearls, vintage spacers, and then a cute little tier cast swag. So I'm excited to do this one. And there's a lot of other companies participating as well. Beads to Live By. Who else? Just Beat It. Concord is participating. A couple other, Design and Adorn out of Arizona. You know, all those fabulous designers. So that's going to be super fun. That's this Friday on the Softflex Company Facebook page. And of course, we'll share it to our page as well. The other two major fun things that we have going on this month are the Great Bead Extravaganza is coming up a little bit later in the month. Our presentation is Sunday the 23rd at 10:30 Central. We are making a super fun kind of rickrack design necklace. So make sure to dig out your one-step looper if you've already got one. If you don't, you can find them at beadplace.net. Our kits will be launching very, very, very soon. We are super busy, so that's on me that I haven't launched those kits yet. But we've got plenty to post, so they won't sell out anytime soon. Oh, thanks. So Becky says that she linked the monthly fun pack. Yeah, we do a monthly fun pack. It's like a subscription box, essentially, that we send out. And each month is a different theme. It is an approximate $35 minimum value, although I always say this because it's true. We always go overboard, so it's always way more than $35 in value. But if you subscribe to receive them monthly, you save, pardon me, you save $5 each month, so it's $30. Otherwise, if you just want to try it out and see if it's for you, it's $35, and Becky linked that. I'm going to take a drink. Awesome. So Becky just linked the Great Bead Extravaganza Facebook page and chat also. And we have a website as well. And then I would also urge you to join the Great Bead Extravaganza Facebook group, because between the major events that we do, the different presenters post kind of relevant content within that group as well. And I don't see anybody having any questions, so I think that's it, right?
Yep.
Well, thanks everybody so much. As always, this is super, super fun. Pardon me. I have a tickle in my throat. I've been talking too much without stopping. Oh, okay.
Thanks, Suzanne.
As always, if you have any questions about your order, if you're watching the replay and want to order, feel free to message us because we don't always get notifications on the live stream comments, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook. We just don't get notifications when people comment. So make sure to send us a message on either Facebook or through the messenger service on our website. You can just go to live chat, and chances are one of us will be awake even if it's 2 a.m. You'll probably get an answer right away. Becca. Becca's probably busy because it was her birthday yesterday, but everybody say happy birthday, Becca.
Happy birthday.
Because Becca is the one that's sending a lot of your invoices and packing a lot of your orders. And we love her. And of course, we love Becky and everybody else as well. Jenny and Alex. We just love all of you. It's a love fest. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.